Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Casual Sports Podcast. It's the end of a week. That means it's Friday. Hope you're all closing out your work weeks. Fantastic, Matt. I know you and I were up late last night watching some crazy March Madness from Alek Koberna Matt Morrison, by the way. Welcome to the Casual Sports Podcast. Matt, how about those games last night?
Listen, I tried so hard, but I fell asleep.
Disappointing, Matt.
I watched most of them, though. So we're good.
Funny, I missed the start of the night. You missed the end of it because I got to the end of the night. I was watching movie and I went, oh yeah, March Madness is on. So I finally go back to my room and I go, yeah, I guess I'll turn this on. And I see, oh my God, upsets galore are about to go on in college basketball. How about Gonzaga going down? Lost to Arkansas as well. You got to be happy you picked the right matchup too for them to lose.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the defense, like I said, was there. Arkansas really held them, and they what's his name? Chet Holmgren fouled out. They had him in foul trouble the whole game. So once he got in like 2-3 fouls, he was kind of like, sheltered. Like he couldn't do anything.
That's a big problem. I think I've seen a lot of teams here in March Madness when they've gotten into a situation later in a game where they got players in foul trouble. I even saw this in high school. The players get in foul trouble and they become a non-factor in the game because they get so afraid of fouling out and they know they need to be there at the very end. And I think if you have Chet Holmgren in a situation where he's not in foul trouble in that game, it's a whole different scenario. But huge win for Arkansas pulling off the upset.
How about
I'm still not 100% confident in what they can do, but taking down Gonzaga is a big step to this next round matchup going up against one of our almost other upsets in the Texas Tech Duke game. Duke comes out on top. Texas Tech in that game, if they had any outside shooting whatsoever, they would have won that game by 1.5 miles.
They started out hot,
leaving them wide open on the perimeter, and their big man Arms wasn't getting. He started, I think, 0 for 6 of the game, finished like 5 for 5, or I think it was 5 for 7 he finished in that game, and he turned on the lights in the second half and was trying to pull them back in, but he was just unable to get that thing going. But a great performance by Duke, and maybe the one thing out of it, the boys finally handled the pressure. They had to go up against a tough team, something we really hadn't seen. They had 2 easy matchups to start off, so I think there was a lot of question marks still for Duke, but they put up 78 points. Their defense held strong down the stretch. And maybe that's the most important thing was that they showed they have defense because they're going to need it against Arkansas. The only problem I'm seeing, there were way too many driving lanes for Duke in that game. Texas Tech had wide open lanes to the bucket every time down the floor. It was just their own fault that they were taking bad shots. They were making bad passes, and they compiled into the loss for Texas Tech. I'm still of the opinion TT should have won that game. I don't think Duke played their best basketball. I got a good shot that Arkansas takes this game against Duke. With what we just saw from that Arkansas game against Gonzaga, I'm not confident with what Duke's going to bring to the floor, except for maybe one thing. They have a closer, man. And Paolo Banchero is an absolute stud for Duke. And he after seeing this tournament right now, he might be my favorite guy going into this year's NBA draft. He just seems to have all the pieces. And maybe the most important part, his basketball IQ is probably one of the highest I've seen going into this year's NBA draft. I don't know how many other guys have the basketball intelligence of Paolo Banchero, and I credit that to working with Coach K and Duke. Getting into that program and just being able to sit there with Coach K for a couple of those games and be able to figure things out, I think has been huge for what Duke has done and for Paolo Banchero's draft stock going into this one.
Yeah, he's definitely a closer. They stay close in that game, and that's mostly because, Texas Tech did not have good defense at all. It was bad. And, it was back and forth pretty much the whole game. And, Duke didn't really have that best defense either. That's how, Arms and everybody was getting inside. The outside shots weren't going down, but they were able to get inside. And then Duke kind of changed up their defense a little bit and, made them take those shots, and they weren't falling. And then here comes, Banchero out here, and he's just hitting all these shots. So that's where it really came in. It was a close game. Texas Tech led pretty much the whole game until the end. So, like you said, the closer. So,
let's go over to the other side of the bracket here into the South, and maybe the upset nobody thought was going to happen. Houston dominated Arizona in this game. Arizona had
I kinda
nothing
saw
going
it
on
coming.
the entire time. They never led. And Houston was just every time they needed a bucket, they hit it. They came in there flaming hot. And, after that Illinois decimation, I mean, this team, they were playing with fire and they came in smoking hot. And they were really dominating. I mean, I was watching more of the Duke Texas Tech game because it was closer, but I had Arizona on the second TV, and I was just going back and forth, left or right, watching these two games on either side of me. And the entire time I was like, all right, Arizona crawling back into it. I think they made it a 2-point game. Then Houston just smacked them aside and went, nope, this is Cougar time. And they played fantastic. And I mean, they had Hakeem the Dream in the building, and they lived up to the hype for Houston and everything about that game. I mean, it worked perfectly. And I think right now, when you look at what Houston has started bringing to the table, they're a 32-5 team. I mean, the statistical analysis loved Houston this season, and now we're finally seeing why. In the regular season, they had some letdowns. They lost games that they definitely should have won. But now we're getting into the tournament time, and all those metrics that put this team as top 5 or number 1 in the country based on metrics, you're seeing them come to the table because no other team in the entire nation, in my opinion, could have done what they did to Illinois and Arizona in back-to-back games. To me, this is the single hottest team in all of college basketball. And in my personal opinion, they might be the new favorites to win the whole damn thing.
They might be. I was almost convinced to pick them yesterday. I'm like, I didn't really like what Arizona did in the game before against TCU, and Houston was just cruising. So I wasn't really surprised when they beat them. They're a heck of a team. They're running. They're running. So, I mean, look out for them. I'd put them as a new favorite too. I mean, I know you can't really. I mean, you expect Duke to lose like some of these games, but like them, they're just coming out and winning it too. So it's honestly, I've been saying it all year. It's anybody's championship. It's so
I mean,
tossed
before
up.
this thing started, did we not all say that this was going to be the craziest March Madness we've ever seen?
Oh yeah, I mean it's Coach K's final run too, and a lot of people are like, I don't think they're going to go lightly. I mean, it's just, I mean, every game is possibly his last one. So
Right.
I don't know.
I was waiting for it the whole time as Texas Tech was closing in that game. I was like, this is it. It's going to happen. And then Banchero happened and put Duke ahead in that game. And, I mean, it was an all-around effort. It wasn't just Banchero. They had some great post play from other guys. I mean, they were hitting big shots every time down the floor. It was really the perfect game for Coach K in what, what was his final Sweet 16 appearance. And now he's got a shot at the Elite Eight coming up next. But to me, maybe the biggest thing coming out of this one, we have lost 3 number 1 seeds already. Kansas is the final number 1 seed left in the tournament, and they play tonight. And if you want to go back last time, no number 1 seeds made the Final Four. You'd have to go all the way back to 2011. It's been 11 years since this happened last time. Wow. So it's huge right now for Kansas. It put the odds kind of in the favor of Kansas since it has been so long since this happened. And I'm kind of thankful for it because they're one of the only 1 seeds I had in my Final Four. My Final Four just got split in half last night. I lost Arizona and Texas Tech. I still got UCLA and Kansas, though, which I'm still liking what UCLA can bring to the table. Mike has lost 3 of his 4 Final Four teams. He has Kansas in there. And, Matt, you have lost 3 of your 4. You still have Arkansas in there. So our brackets are one day away from being absolutely destroyed. And I got to
just watching it.
Our points have been awful. So far in the Sweet 16, Matt, you were the only person that has gotten points at this point. You have 4 points. You got 1 game correct. Every other game, all of us have been wrong to this point. I mean, Matt, you have now jumped up. You've passed me and jumped into second place of the overall standings. Mike is still in first. But because I still have 2 Final Four teams, if mine make it, I win.
Yeah, that's true.
It comes down to, we all need those Final Four. You need Arkansas. I need UCLA and Purdue. Not Purdue, UCLA and Kansas to get there. But this is coming down a great race right now. I mean, we're seeing an awesome all the way around.
I mean, UCLA and Kansas, like they could get there, but I mean, North Carolina's been running.
Yeah.
They were comparing Brady Macon.
Yeah.
They're comparing him to Larry Bird. Like And like, he kind of looks like him, honestly.
Yeah, well,
He just got the beard. If you shaved everything off, he'd be a spitting image. But the dude can shoot. The guy can play defense. He's a physical guy. I think we've seen that from the last game. And, I mean, look out for that. And then Providence, I mean, yeah, I think Kansas can get past Providence. But, I mean, Providence is there, and you still have to play them.
I love Providence, man. I would love to see that.
Too.
I would love to see
St.
Providence
Peter's,
take down Kansas.
St. Peter's. That's probably the only
Could you
game I'll be
imagine
able to
no one seed getting to the Elite Eight? Let me
I
see
can
last time
imagine
that happened.
I can imagine it. When's the last time you were talking about this yesterday? When was the last time you saw 11 and a 10 seed play in the Sweet 16? There's some like history's being broken a little bit. There's some stuff that's happening that hasn't happened. Who's looking here? St. Peter's, man, you got to roll with them.
I can't find. There's no immediate results coming up, so I'm not going to waste time on trying to figure it out. But the fact that there's no immediate results probably means it's been at least 15 years, if I had to guess. Considering 2011 was the last time a one seed didn't make the Final Four, you have to go back a while to not get to where we may end up in this season's tournament. If Kansas goes down tonight, this is absolute chaos. It's madness, as you could say. But let's go ahead and jump into
That's why it's called March Madness.
Into potential Elite Eight games that we have. We'll start with the ones that we know are set in stone. Arkansas versus Duke. Matt, you got Arkansas locked in here. Any thought to change away from Arkansas and take Duke on the other side?
I really want to take Duke. I'm going to be cheering for Duke. I put it right there.
But you're going to leave your pick officially as Arkansas.
Yeah, I'll stick with it.
Arkansas has been working for you. The magic number is back.
I don't like to change. I don't like to change stuff. So I'll just.
How about this going from last season into this one? UCLA and Arkansas, both teams that kind of came out of the blue last tournament, and they're doing the exact same thing this time around. I think maybe that's the most impressive thing we've seen out of it, because you never see teams kind of come out of the blue and make back-to-back great tournament runs to this point. I mean, you got Arkansas going to the Elite Eight after a fantastic season last year. You got UCLA in the Sweet 16 after making it to the Final Four last season. We got two great teams. But now Arkansas and Duke, this is a place they're supposed to be. 16% of people picked them to win and go into the Final Four, which seems like a low number to me, but that was because how highly everybody was looking at Gonzaga. I think really besides us. If you feel like of the media, we're some of the fewer people that didn't think Gonzaga was going to make it here. There's a lot of people that didn't like Gonzaga, but it feels like the media was really up there. You look at Arkansas coming to this one, in net rating, they aren't even ranked. I mean, apparently all their stats have been erased. I don't know why, actually. Never mind about that. But only 4% of people picked Arkansas to get to this point. I don't know, man. Arkansas is coming in so hot. If they can get over that hump of don't stay too high on Gonzaga. I mean, they're going to play a physical game yesterday, and then they're going to have a physical game this Saturday. That's the one thing to me. I don't know if Arkansas is going to be able to do that in back-to-back. So we know a team like Duke probably can based on the way their coaching can go. I got a free pick in this one. I was initially leaning towards Duke. Now I'm kind of thinking Arkansas. I mean, you look at these two teams, and Duke they got punched in the mouth against Texas Tech. They came out on top. I don't know if they can do it again. Arkansas, they seem to be doing just fine in these games. I mean, they're barely winning, but they're coming out on top. Matt, to me, this is about as big of a coin flip as you can get. I think just for parity here, I'm going to go on the other side. I'm going to take Duke. Will you stick with your Arkansas pick?
I love Duke. I want them to keep going. I want them to keep going. So I like Duke. So
yeah, this is really the first time I picked in favor of Duke in this tournament. I really haven't thought very highly of the team this season, but I mean, through those first three rounds now, they're consistent. 78 points in two of their three matchups already, and their defense in the last two against decent opponents, I mean, 75 points. They average 74.5 points through those first two games. So the offense, it's there. The defense, it needs to be better against Arkansas because there's going to be a defensive onslaught between these two teams. It's going to have to come down to somebody has to step up. Somebody has to make that shot. And I have a little bit more faith in Ben Kerr to do that than I do from JD on the side of Arkansas. So I'm going to take Duke here for parity's sake between these two teams because I think it's about as close as it comes.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Let's go to our other game here in the South. Houston, the red hot Cougars taking on the Wildcats of Villanova. If Mike was here, we know who he'd be taking in this game. His Nova Wildcats have been storming through this postseason so far. Wins over Delaware, Ohio State, Michigan, and now Houston. They've had to run through the gauntlet of the Big Ten that we've been talking about as the best conference in all of basketball this season. And here they are down at the end of it, ready to take on a team in Houston in which the metrics have loved all this season. These two teams, I mean, they're complete opposites of one another. Nova relies more on the outside shot. Houston is more of a driving team. Free throws, Nova perfect at the line. They led the country this season. Houston, they were almost last in free throws this season. They were 323rd in free throws. But in this tournament, it really hasn't shown up. I mean, these two teams are playing fantastic. And to get down to the Sweet 16 at this point, you have to be awesome and you have to be near perfect to get to this point. I mean, when you talk about 64 teams and we're now down to 16 left, I mean, you obviously have done something right. I mean, 25% of the field is left at this point in the Sweet 16 to get to the Elite Eight. I mean, you got to cut that down even a little more. And I mean, 12.5% make it, by the way, if you're whatever it was. But to me, in this game, Houston is playing with house money, man. They got nothing to lose at this point. They're not supposed to be here. They're the ultimate Cinderella as of right now out of the South. Obviously, down into the Midwest, you got Iowa State or Miami, whichever one of those wants to be the true Cinderella to make Elite Eight as a double-digit seed. But to me, Houston right now is that team that's not supposed to necessarily be here. The metrics love them, but they never passed the eye test until this tournament. I'm going Houston in this game. I like what they have started to bring to the table. I love what they did against Illinois and Arizona. They took two of the best offenses and smacked them in the mouth and held them to 60 points or less in those two games. UAB, they let them put a little bit more on the scoreboard because they put up 82 of their own. Houston is not going to be that super high-scoring team. They don't need to be because they held opponents under 60 points during the regular season, and they've already done that so far in 2 of their 3 tournament games. I think they come in here against a Nova squad that really, their points per game has been going down in every stage of this tournament, and they look to be on pace for another low-scoring game. I think Houston comes out on top of it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, I like Villanova, I do, but, I mean, Houston is flying. Houston looks really good. I had no hope in them at all at the beginning of this tournament. It has changed. They are a team that loves to make doubters like wrong. So, and I'm one of them. So, I mean, they're going to keep going. They're a fast-paced type of team. I've seen them play. I'm like, oh my gosh! Like Arizona had no chance. They had no chance. I didn't even have to watch it to know. Like they're going to be out of breath really quick. So, they're going to keep going. I don't know how much farther, but I think they might be there in the end.
They got a great shot at doing that. Let's jump down to a little bit more of the unknowns, though. We'll start out with the eastern side of the bracket. UNC, UCLA. I got UCLA coming out of this one, and we already talked about that game yesterday, our predictions on that. Now we got to go in. We don't know who's going to make it out because these games are tonight, but we got to make some sort of prediction going into the Elite Eight. My matchup still stands as UCLA and Purdue. Matt, yours was UNC versus St. Peter's. So we'll go based on that. You got UNC versus St. Peter's in this game. Who would you take to come out of that? Do you think St. Peter's can make it down to that Final Four, or do you think their Cinderella run finally comes to an end against the Flaming Hot Tar Heels?
Oh, man, I don't know. I have no idea. Usually you take it one game at a time, but I don't even know if they're going to come out on this one alive. Now you're like, oh, they're going to beat this team and this team.
Right.
Like it's hard to make a decision like this because they haven't played this one yet. So like if they won this one, I think like if they do win this one, I'm going to be like, dude on the left is killing it. That's you. Okay.
Yeah, I know. That's why I put it up there.
Keep switch going. Over. Well, I mean. If they do win this game, then I'm going to have really much confidence in them. I mean, more St. Peter's than North Carolina because St. Peter's, look at the gauntlet they have had to go through. I mean, Murray State was no slack either. I mean, and everybody's talking about Kentucky. They can beat Kentucky and Purdue. It's like, are you serious? Like, I don't think anybody's going to stop them. So if they can beat those, like those three teams,
so you got St. Peter's to the Final Four.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep rolling.
Okay, I love it, man. I love St. Peter's. Let's go.
They're sweet.
Fly.
They're sweet. They're a sweet team. I like North Carolina too. No slash against them. I'd be happy if they get there too. I like Brady Macon, and I'd love to see Duke, North Carolina.
How about this? Maybe the most unlikely. Hold on. What about this? The most unlikely scenario I think anybody could have thought of in the tournament. Final Four. Duke, UNC, the rematch. Yeah, redemption to go to the championship game. That storyline writes itself, man. Redemption for Coach K, or really just a sweep of the season for UNC. How awesome would that potentially be to see that? I mean, you're taking St. Peter's to go to the Final Four. On my side, I picked UCLA beginning of this tournament to be my Final Four team out of the East. I got rid of Baylor in the Sweet 16. I got rid of Kentucky going into the round of 32. I got Purdue all the way here, but I have left UCLA intact, man. There's something about this team after that game against St. Mary's where they went off and started really getting this thing rolling. I got a feeling you got a lot of momentum coming into this game for UCLA against UNC. I still think they can take that. And Purdue, to me, they haven't had a hard ride so far in this tournament. They're going to get tested for the first time against St. Peter's. I still think they come out of that, but you always see the Big Ten flop. I think this is the flop. I think they make a great run down to the Elite Eight, but I got UCLA coming out. I still love what they bring to the table. I really love what this team can do. I think they got a lot of talent and obviously experience in the tournament. Experience wins championships. It's what we saw from Michigan to make their big run down into the Sweet 16. And UCLA has done the exact same thing. A 4 seed that kind of, I think, was lost in this part of the Eastern bracket. When you're looking at teams like Baylor, UNC, for example, even Virginia Tech or Texas, then you go down and you see Purdue and Kentucky. There are a lot of big name teams here. I think UCLA kind of got swept under the rug into this group, and they have run the gauntlet. They have made it through here. I still got UCLA coming out of this side of the bracket and going to the Final Four.
That's fair. I mean, they have an elite team. I mean, Juzang.
I like this guy. I don't know who he is, but I like him. Man,
we don't want to work for ESPN. We don't want to live in Connecticut. No.
I'll go down to Connecticut.
Oh, okay, I'd go.
They don't have snow this weekend. We do.
Yeah, we have snow.
Big baseball tournament here in Youngstown. Thrown out the door. Snow this weekend, so games get canceled.
Snow. But Johnny's Juzang is absolutely unbelievable type of player. I mean, he's gotten them there. Without them, there would be no question I wouldn't even have them where they are. So, I mean, that's a fair point that you made. So, hopefully I can get on ESPN.
Okay. Who knows? Let's go down into.
That'd be moving pretty quickly.
Got underdogs all the way around this bracket. My Elite Eight right now, though, still stands. I got Kansas in there. I still got them advancing to the Final Four. Whether they go up against Iowa State or Miami, I think those Cinderella runs coming to an end. The fact that we haven't had a number 1 seed not make it to the Final Four since 2011, I don't think that streak's breaking this year. I think you got Kansas making another run. They got Agbaji. This is one of the best players in the country, and this entire team has been coming around what this Jayhawks program has done. I'll say it. They got an easy ride right now. If they can take down Providence here tonight, and then they can go through Iowa State or Miami, whoever comes out on top of there. I don't think either one of those teams are Final Four material. I don't think Providence is Final Four material. I would love it if they got there. I've been high on the Friars.
Hey, St. Peter's wasn't Final Four material, and they're right there. So I don't think any of these teams are.
Yeah, so, I think we got some Final Four material. I think UCLA is a Final Four team. I still think Kansas is a Final Four team. To me, Kansas right now, they got the momentum, and they may have the easiest track to the Final Four out of any conference. I mean, Creighton was a good competition. Providence is good competition, but I don't think you're seeing at the level of UCLA, or even UNC. Having to go through Marquette, Baylor, UCLA, potentially Purdue. You can't tell me anybody's had a harder ride. And then you look on the side of the Midwest, and Kansas is getting an easy ride all the way down here. I'll say easy because Kansas this season, they have been dominant, and they got the benefit of the doubt getting put down in this Midwest where there really wasn't solid teams. Wisconsin was a team a lot of people looked at. Auburn got maybe the best player in the country with Jabari Parker, I believe it is, and they have been fantastic, but they all got eliminated early. And I think you had to look. Kansas, they got a one-way ticket to the Final Four, and it's up to them. They control their own destiny at this point. I'm a firm believer. I got Kansas coming out of whoever they would have to go up against.
Yeah, I mean, Kansas is a complete team. I'm going to have to probably go with them, too. I mean, they're there. I mean, who are they going to end up facing? Let's look. Who they'd have to face.
In that Final Four, I mean, they either take on
Yeah.
Houston or Nova, which I still think is in their favor.
Yeah. I mean, Houston,
in my opinion, they now got a one-way ticket to the championship game that they just don't have to blow because they're the one seed left. I don't think Nova is.
I think there's going to be at least one. I think there is going to be at least one seed in the Final Four, and that's definitely
the only one left.
Resume. They're a strong team. I've said they've been a strong team all year. I said all year long they could be there at the end, and I agree with you. Villanova is a good team, but I mean, we even talked about how Villanova is slocked on and off throughout the season, and Houston's finally just turning a switch on right now. That we really have. We thought they were a good team, but we didn't think they were championship level. And now they're finally clicking something on. I think that the experience with Kansas to be that consistent all year is going to take over Houston because they've been doing this all year. They don't have to turn on a last-minute switch. They have it on all season. So I got to go Kansas.
All right, well, that sets all of our Final Fours in place. I got Duke, UCLA, Kansas, and Houston. Matt going with a couple of the wild cards, Arkansas, St. Peter's, Kansas, and Houston. So should be an interesting finish to the season nonetheless, though. We'll see who comes out on top of the Casual Sports Bracketology Challenge as well. That should be just as interesting as a race at this point to see who can do that. Let's transition now into NASCAR. Road course for the first time this season down in Texas. First time NASCAR has hit the circuit of the Americas during the NASCAR Sprint Cup season. I believe Xfinity and Camping World were there last year at some point, I think it was. But, Matt, we're going into road courses here for the first time. I think you immediately have to look at the favorites to win it. And Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, Martin Truex Jr., and Kyle Busch. I mean, those are your four guys that are like, all right, it's one of these four that's most likely to come out on top. Maybe the one wild card is none of them have run a road course in these cars yet.
Nope. But they have the experience. I don't think that honestly matters. Because you can
the cars this season have had a huge difference on these races. We wouldn't be seeing guys like Briscoe winning races and Ross Chastain competing in the top five and getting top five finishes if it didn't have something to do with these cars.
Yeah, it does have something to do with these cars. It does. I love these new cars too. They're cool. I mean, they're cool.
It seems to be giving a competitive advantage. It takes away the competitive advantage from some of the more experienced guys. You good over there?
I lost my AirPod. All right. But what did you just say?
I was saying these cars seem to give a competitive advantage. It takes away that competitive advantage from some of our more experienced drivers and richer race teams. It seems to be kind of leveling the field at the moment. I mean, I think by the time we get to the playoffs, these drivers and pit crews are going to have these cars figured out, and things are going to be a little bit different at that point. But still early on in the year, dealing with these cars in our first 10 races, I think you've seen kind of a lot of shuffling throughout the field. And guys you expect to be at the top haven't been there. And guys that you expect to be finishing down in the 20s, they've been in the top 10. And even our 10 through 20 cars, I think, have really been completely wild cards this entire season so far. I think these cars have been huge so far this season in creating a level playing field.
Yeah, these are good cars, and they're giving some new drivers the opportunity to win. But I mean, those are the first couple races. Stuff is going to probably start sinking in now. And the guys, I mean, these are good. Let me put it this way: these cars are great, but they're only as good as the drivers who are in them. And the favorites you just said, Chase Elliott, Larson. Like I said before, you can put Larson in a goat car or anything that has, an engine and a steering wheel and tires, and he'd probably finish top five. Kyle Busch, NASCAR veteran, Truex Jr., and even throw Denny Hamlin in there. This is why they're favored in this race. And
yeah, man, those five guys you just mentioned are all top 15 road course wins in their career.
Yeah,
all-time NASCAR. So, I mean, we got some of the best road course drivers NASCAR has ever seen. It's
going to come down to one of those drivers, I bet you, right here. They have the experience. They know what it is.
It's either a favorite or a wild card. I don't think you're going to see another top driver get it. I think it's going to be one of these guys or one of those wild card drivers that we've seen so far this season, like a Ross Chastain or a Briscoe, somebody kind of out of the blue who's going to make that stop. Maybe you even see a chance for Austin Dillon to get top five in this race. I think that's
he's
somebody
got
we haven't
the
seen a
crew
lot so far that needs to get out there. Denny Hamlin, another guy that's kind of been middle of the pack. I think you got a good chance maybe for another Hendrick Motorsport driver, though, to get up there into the top 10 this season. I mean, it's been a slow start, I think, for some of the non-elite drivers to get those top 10 finishes this season. I think you got a good shot right now for one of those guys to get a top 10. But I'll give my top three drivers who are one of these three I think will win the race. I'm going favorites in this one. Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, Martin Truex Jr. Going into the road course first time this season, a new track as well. I think it's hard to pick against the favorites.
I'll go different here for you. I'll go Larson, but I'm going to go Busch and then Denny Hamlin. I'll put it there.
Gotta watch out for Ryan Blaney in road courses as well. He's a
watch out for him
normally
too.
A top 10
but
finish.
Let me go off about him just for 1 second. I know we got moved, but Ryan Blaney, he's probably one of the faces of NASCAR. He's up there with Larson and Elliott. Ryan Blaney has been in the thick of it every time, every race, top five. He's there. He's finishing good. I just don't think he can finish. I don't think he can, end it. He was sitting at Alek. This guy was sitting in third place for the last 5 laps of that race last week, and he didn't even make a move. You know who did make a move? The guy who was in fourth moved around him and ended up hitting him in the wall, and he dropped all the way back to 18th. He's got to know when to make the move. You can't sit in a spot and expect something to happen for you. You got to go out there and take the race. You got to control it. And he hasn't been doing that. If he would, he'd probably hardly lose a race.
Yeah, at this point in the season, too, when you look at the numbers, I mean, it's heavy in the favor of Ryan Blaney. I mean, he's had the most laps led throughout the NASCAR Sprint, NASCAR Monster Energy Series so far, and yet he's not coming out with wins. I think that's a big hole right now.
It's frustrating.
Part of it, Matt, it does seem the Fords this year have not been great. They had one race they dominated. Everything else, those Fords have not been good. I think those teams are having a hard time figuring out these cars. I think Brian Blaney is going to be one of those first Ford drivers to really figure that thing out and find a way to get a win. I don't think it comes here at a road course just yet. I think you got to wait till they get to one of those kind of mid-tier speed tracks, not full-on super speedways like Daytona or Michigan or Talladega. You got to wait till they get somewhere else and can really put the speed on, but you also have to be able to get the right braking. I think that's what favors Ryan Blaney when it's not just all-out speed. I think that's when he's at his best. Well, let's get out of NASCAR then and hop on down to a little Horizon League baseball. We got to take a look in here. So we had some time today, so got to take a look. I'll give the rundowns here as I normally do from last week. UIC went up against Northern Kentucky, split that series 1-1. A lot of cancellations this last week, too. Helped some teams kind of fall out of an early race. Milwaukee went up against Penn State. They lost their series 2-1. As you mentioned, Northern Kentucky already. Oakland, they went up against Wright State. They won that matchup 2-1. Youngstown State won their matchup against Purdue Fort Wayne 2-1 in that series. And as the current standings sit, after week 1 of conference play, in first place of the Horizon League, tied for first, I'll say it, Youngstown State University, and they got a matchup coming up against West Virginia University. They already had game 1 impact conference standings, but a good jump here to potentially get a couple wins. They lost game 1 6-4, so I like the competitive coming out of them already early in the series. I think they can steal one of these next 2 games coming up. In today's, they got a doubleheader today, so I think they can steal maybe the second of 2 doubleheaders. I like what Youngstown State is doing this season, and they're 1 win away from being the first 10-win team in Horizon League this season.
Yeah, and they did just beat Penn State as well. They went down into Happy Valley and beat Penn State 2-1. I was keeping an eye on that. One of our buddies who works for YSN, Richie Giuliano, was on that call. Literally, he came out of a classroom. He's like, "I gotta go." He had to get going. That game was that. And I'm like, "Who they playing?" He's like, "Oh, they're going to Penn State." I'm like, "No way." And I'm happy to see that they beat Penn State. But now, West Virginia, I think they should pull this last one off. And they got a huge opponent, Michigan State.
And actually, Youngstown State just lost the first of the 2 doubleheaders, 9-3 to WVU. Second one is starting right now here on YSNLive.com, broadcasted by Richie Giuliano on that game. So should be another fun one with WVU. Hopefully YSU can take that win, though. Let's go down to the next team in Horizon League action. Tied for first place with Youngstown State is Oakland. They are 2-1 right now in conference, 7-11 overall. They got a matchup against Purdue Fort Wayne. I think they're most likely sweeping this series. They got 2 games today, 1 game tomorrow. I think you've got a good shot that Oakland can take that series sweep and inevitably jump into first place of Horizon League play so far by doing that. So good spot for Oakland right now to jump that lead. Purdue Fort Wayne, they have just had such a slow start. It's hard to give them any picks as of right now. They stole 1 win against YSU. I think they could steal 1 against Oakland, but I got Oakland. If they sweep this series, by the way, first 10-win team as well in Horizon League action. So depending on if Youngstown State can get that win here tonight or if Oakland can get it Saturday, you got a good shot of seeing our first 10-win team in the Horizon League coming out of this weekend. Or you got 2 teams deadlocked at 9 with YSU and Oakland.
Oof, that'd be sweet.
Yeah.
They're coming around. I like this baseball team. I have some classes with some of the players, and they're starting to get with it. They're like, we just need to sink in. We need to get in the rhythm, and, they're finding it. They lost 2 to West Virginia. West Virginia is tougher baseball all around. I mean, that's where you see a lot of
11-8 so
recruits.
far in the season.
Yeah. I mean, they play some tough teams as well. But, I mean, it's good that they didn't lose them by much. Let me see. They didn't lose by much. 9-3 that won. But, I mean, it's going to happen.
You get an inning that goes away from you, that happens.
Yeah. So it'll be all right.
I think right now the biggest problem for Youngstown State is scoring runs. They need to find a way to put more runs on the board. It feels like out of any statistic, that's the one that hasn't been able to win the games. They can't score sometimes when they really need to, especially late in the ball game. But down to our next one, Northern Kentucky. They got a 3-game series set against Wright State. Both teams 6-12 right now. So, I mean, you got pretty much an even mark between these two. I would love to go for a series split here, but there's 3 games, so somebody's got to come out on top. I think I like Wright State just a little bit. They came off a competitive loss against Ohio State in their last time out. I think they got a good shot here, taking 2-1 over Northern Kentucky.
Yeah, I could go Wright State here too. Honestly, I think they can sneak a sweep. I think they can take a sweep. I'll go against the
I don't know about that. I like Northern Kentucky. I think a little too much for a sweep.
Yeah, we'll see though.
I think they got
been
a
up
strong
and down.
program.
Been up and down.
Next matchup here in baseball, actually our final one here for the Horizon League. 3-game series between Chicago and Milwaukee. 5-11 Chicago, Milwaukee 6-8. This is Milwaukee's first chance to look at play in Horizon League. They haven't played one yet so far. So I got to give the edge here to Milwaukee. I think they're going to have a good start to the season. I think they go 2-1 here against UIC.
That sounds pretty fair. I'll go 2-1 as well.
All right. Fair enough. Well, that wraps up Horizon League action. Yeah. Let's go ahead and jump into some NFL free agency talk. I mean, we've had a lot going on this NFL offseason. Many of you saw Denver Broncos Stadium was on fire these last couple of days.
See that?
Under control, but they let Russ cook a little too much already.
Oh, man. They let him in. Oh, man.
He's no Chef Curry. We'll give him that.
John Elway was up there trying to make popcorn, and he put aluminum foil in the microwave, and that's what started the fire. No, that'd be so funny.
I don't know if funny is the right word for it, Matt, but it'd be something.
Not funny, but like bad, like stupid.
No, the best side. No one was near the area that was on fire, so no casualties. I don't think there was any injuries.
Oh,
but
thank God there wasn't, though.
I mean, huge fire at that stadium. But let's go ahead and talk about some of these NFL free agency moves so far. Matt, why don't we go ahead and look directly at the Pittsburgh Steelers? You guys pull in Mitch Trubisky, maybe the biggest quarterback signing for this team, and obviously decades at this point, because you've had Big Ben at the helm of the chair for so long. Now you bring in Mitch Trubisky. I know this is some older news to get into, but we haven't got a chance to talk about NFL offseason.
I talked a little bit about it, but not too much.
What do you think of Mitch getting in here as the new quarterback?
I mean, I like Mitchell Trubisky. I think he's a capable type of guy. I don't know if we're going to draft another quarterback. I don't know. Definitely not first round, though, so they can get away from that. They're not on the pressure to draft a quarterback in that first round. You can get somebody in the second,
you just
third
have
round.
to remember, Pittsburgh will always disappoint you with their first round pick.
I know.
Always remember that. It's going to be someone you're like.
Well, I mean, they haven't disappointed me too bad. I liked it when they picked
everyone
Harris.
goes, oh, they're going to get a wide receiver. They're going to pick someone fun. And they go, we're taking an offensive lineman. It's like, well,
I want them to pick an offensive lineman.
But like,
I'd be happy with whatever they pick. I'd be happy with whatever they pick.
All right, I'll put this out to the rest of the Steelers fans. You're going to be disappointed. They're not going to take a wide receiver Olave or Wilson like they probably should.
Yeah, they'll be pretty mad. Like, oh, they didn't pick Garrett Wilson.
I'm expecting, you go on Twitter day one of the NFL draft, and they're not picking any fun guys. I think you're going to see a couple people go, are you serious? I'm going to take a look at the Browns. I really love some of the offseason moves they've made so far. Obviously, Deshaun Watson was huge to bring in to Cleveland. I'm not happy with how they handled the Baker Mayfield situation. I mean, I feel like we kind of just screwed over the best quarterback we've ever had. I'll say it flat out. Baker Mayfield, statistically, win-wise, is the best quarterback the Browns have ever had, at least in the last 20 years, too. And I don't like the way we threw him out the door. Maybe he was tied, maybe he wasn't. There's been conversations of a lot of rifts between him and Stefanski. I don't feel like we gave Baker Mayfield his due diligence. He showed out a couple of times, and this last season, I think it should have been the coaching staff that should have pulled him out earlier in the year and said, just take your reps. I think if that was the case, we'd have Baker Mayfield next season. How that works out for everything else, I don't know. But this whole situation with Baker seems to be handled pretty poorly. And
I think so, yeah. I've said that before.
Yeah.
I've said this time and time again. I mean, you know what I've said, Dick. He led them to the playoffs, had a huge playoff win against Pittsburgh, their rival, and he gets hurt one season and you give him the shaft. Like, I don't
How about this? The most winningest quarterback in Cleveland Browns, the most winningest quarterback in First Energy Stadium is no longer going to be playing in First Energy Stadium. And the second most winningest quarterback is retired. How about that for Cleveland Browns fans? I mean, this is once again quarterback carousel. Are we really going to trust Deshaun Watson to make this? I mean, he showed some life in Houston, but he also had DeAndre Hopkins with him. I mean, he had a fantastic wide receiver. I love them bringing in Amari Cooper to work with that, re-signing David Njoku and dropping out Austin Hooper is a little bit of a head scratcher. I mean, we brought in Austin Hooper for so much money, and they just dropped him like last year's lunch. I mean, it was bad the way that situation. I mean, it never unfolded the right way. I don't know what was going on with Hooper, why we just cut ties with him immediately. I like bringing back Njoku. He's a fantastic player, great tight end. I hope we get him on a long-term contract. Jakeem Grant, I like the other wide receiver that the Browns brought in here. I think it's an important position the Browns need to fill, and I like that they did it. Bringing in Jacoby Brissett on a one-year contract as the backup quarterback for the Browns behind Watson, I think is a great safety measure when you look at the injury history of a guy like Deshaun Watson, a potential suspension looming. Don't know how that'll work out, but I think it does create a great situation. If Jacoby Brissett has to step up, I know what that guy's capable of with the Colts. I think he can run this style of offense. He knows how to hand off the football. That's what the Browns need to get back to doing. And the Chase Winovich for Mack Wilson trade, that might be one of the better trades I've seen. Mack Wilson, I think both these guys are great players, but they never really fit. They never really found a rhythm with our team. I love the switch. See if they can do something else here on a different squad. I mean, you went basically linebacker for linebacker. I mean, don't put Chase Winovich at the end, but he can back up kind of as a TJ Watt-esque position and fall back into coverage when needed to. He's more of a,
He was a heck of a player at Michigan. He was a heck of a player at Michigan. You kind of forgot about him until now. I kind of forgot he was on the Patriots. I mean, but he's still very capable of running what Mack Wilson did. Yeah, and I definitely agree there. I think you just needed to switch him. But I mean, it's free agency. A bunch of other stuff happened. More trades and crazy stuff's going to happen. No more.
How about this one right here? I mean, the Las Vegas Raiders have been loading up, man. They're bringing in everybody.
Chandler Jones.
At the moment, I mean, I'm looking at, I think, 13 different either re-signings or signings for the program this year. I mean, they brought in Garrett Gilbert as their backup quarterback. I think a good one. I think he fits right behind Derek Carr. I mean, they're bringing in Amir Abdullah and Brandon Bolden in the backfield. I like that one. Bringing in Devontae Adams, though, was huge. Bringing in arguably the best wide receiver in all of the NFL to work with Derek Carr. I think maybe this was finally the weapon that Derek Carr needed to put this team up to the next level. We see them be competitive every year. We see him put up outstanding numbers every year, but it never translates to the win category, and they never really make it anywhere meaningful. I think Davante Adams, bringing him in, might be that final switch there. Not to mention bringing Max Crosby and Chandler Jones on contracts at the defensive end position. They beefed up that offensive line. They beefed up the linebacker position a little bit. They got a little bit more depth in the corners position. I really like what they got going on right now, and I'm hoping Vegas can kind of turn around the chaos of last year and come out, I'll say flaming hot to start out the year, because I think the way things were left off last year, all the chaos nonstop, I think it really distracted from what could have been a great season. I think bringing in Davante Adams to fill that role that really Henry Ruggs was about to fill before, his whole situation went down that we've gone over. I think bringing in Davante Adams in that position was huge for this Raiders squad. And I think it shows maybe as well, they're looking to be competitive. They're not content staying where they are. And I think that's one thing we've seen on a lot of teams. You're like, why aren't you making any moves? Maybe the biggest one to me, the Baltimore Ravens have done absolutely nothing so far in this offseason. And I mean, I think you look at them and you go, what are you doing? I mean, there's definite positions you need to kind of beef up a little bit. You're in a great spot. Give me a little bit more. Put a little bit more out there so you can go against the Bengals and, guarantee your spot. I know they got a lot of running backs that were out, a lot of injuries last year. But the one signing for me so far was they bring in Marcus Williams and Michael Pierce, a safety and a defensive tackle. They brought in one offensive tackle, $5 million a year, in Morgan Moses. What else do you add into this offense? I know this seems to be a team that kind of likes to build through the draft, and I respect that. At the same time, though, we have had one hell of a free agency market so far. And I mean, when you got a free agent available right now, Tyrann Mathieu, I mean, OBJ is out there on the field along with Jarvis
Pittsburgh's
Landry.
trying to snag him.
Guy and Stephon Gilmore. You got Bobby Wagner out there, Jadeveon Clowney. There are some huge weapons available. Calais Campbell out there. He's getting up there in probably one of his final contracts. But maybe not to mention, maybe the biggest position out there that I think would be huge for the Ravens, despite the fact they already have an elite tight end in Mark Andrews. Pair him up with a guy like Rob Gronkowski. I mean, you give that guy on that roster. Yeah. I mean, with the wide receiver positions they have, a tight end heavy team might not be the worst thing, because it doesn't seem to get consistency down the field. Start creating some underneath plays with a tight end. Mix Andrews, get him some more catches if you put Gronk out there on the field too, or even just another tight end somewhere else.
Just imagine this. I don't know if Gronkowski will go back to Tampa Bay now that Brady's back, but imagine Gronkowski going to the Bills or the Chiefs. Kelsey and Gronkowski on the same team. That'd be a nightmare. I mean, they did just trade. I mean, I know they got Juju Smith-Schuster, and they just traded Tyreek Hill to the Dolphins. Add another tight end in there with them. I mean, they'd be like what's that duo called from the Mighty Ducks, the Smash Brothers or something like that. That
Bash
would be
Brothers.
The Bash Brothers. That'd be Kelsey and Gronkowski on the same team. That'd be sweet. I don't like the Chiefs. Everybody knows who watches this. I mean, who knows me knows I do not like the Chiefs. Can't stand them. This would be sweet. Though. But
how do you feel about the Chiefs, though, moving on from Tyreek Hill as well?
I mean, it was honestly a huge surprise. It really was. I'll touch on this real quick because I want to get to what you just said. I don't know how I feel about it. I feel good that he's going to Miami, because I really think Miami's – I mean, they're right there. They're on the brink of being a competitive team. Now they got Waddle and now Hill with them. Waddle's been there, but you add Hill to Waddle, it'll complement each other. Probably two of the fastest receivers in the NFL. And, everybody's saying, oh, no, Tua can get it to him. That people just need to shut up. Tua is coming around. He's been there. He's finally getting in the rhythm. And you know what I really don't like? They got rid of Brian Flores. He was really getting the system right where he wanted to, and they moved on from him. Pittsburgh has him now. And a couple of what you just said, the free agents, I mean, Tyrann Mathieu, Pittsburgh is really trying to snag him. Hayden's walking. He's old. Who cares about him? I mean, and then there's Stephon Gilmore, too. Just imagine if Pittsburgh adds them. You have Minkah Fitzpatrick and then, Honey Badger back there in the backfield. Then you add Stephon Gilmore. That secondary is going to be sick.
Yeah, unfortunately for you, Matt, I don't know if the Steelers right now have the money to be able to do that. I mean, they only got $12 million estimated.
At least get one of them. At least the main target
on a cheap contract. I think that definitely a great move right now. I mean, but I would almost like seeing maybe you go back a little bit farther out of those top guys. How about Quandre Diggs from Seattle, a safety out there? And, actually, pardon me, never mind. He just re-signed.
Okay.
Forget about
that.
But,
I mean, the main target's been Tyrann Mathieu. They've been wanting – I mean, a lot of talk has been about him more recently. So I'd love to see him back there. I mean, we need another guy back there with Fitzpatrick. So, and – on the offensive side, I mean, we need we did sign 3 offensive linemen. The dude from Chicago, what was his name? Jason Daniels, something like that. But he's a good player. He went to Iowa, and he's actually from Warren, Ohio. So they had some offensive line. I don't know if they'll go in the draft with that. I still think it would be a good idea to draft an offensive lineman just to get a fresh guy in there, get a rookie in there, and get them with the experienced guys, because I mean, these guys are good, but you honestly want a younger guy, because you don't know how long these guys are going to last. And a receiver.
I think bringing in some youth would be big for the Steelers this season. And if you're still looking for a safety, Deshaun Elliott. I mean, he was in the Ravens system last year, but he sat
and he got the draft too
with biceps and a pectoral injury. And he's only 25 years old. I mean, you got to watch out for the injuries with a guy like that, or maybe Bryce Callahan.
They still have the draft
corners available. He's a little smaller, and he's got a little bit of injury history. But I mean, there's a lot of great guys out of the outside. You look at those top 10 available free agents. I mean, you go all the way down. Imagine if you put Julio Jones up there with Mitch Trubisky. I think that'd be a great move to see there.
Oh, dude, that'd be sweet. I don't know if we have enough money, but
who knows? I mean, he's a guy. He's older. You might be able to get him on a 1-year, like $10 million contract.
Maybe. But I'd much rather have. I mean, Garrett Wilson or Olave, even Dotson. But the dude from Georgia.
But Matt, imagine this: you put Julio Jones next to Garrett Wilson, and Garrett Wilson gets to learn from Julio Jones.
That'd be sweet. I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's a month away. It's literally a month away.
Your next wide receiver next to an experienced guy like Julio Jones, one of the best wide receivers over the last 10 years. You just made a next star, or at least somebody that could step up into that spot. But going back to the Kansas City Chiefs squad, I love that they finally brought in some wide receivers, though, because it kind of felt like this offense was starting to get stagnant. People were figuring them out. Bringing in Juju Smith-Schuster, I think, was a good move. I don't know exactly what he might be for this team. Corey Coleman, I hated that move. You really brought in the guy that helped lead the Browns to an 0-16 season. Then he was part of the Giants. Corey Coleman has no upside.
I thought he was out of the league.
He was. He's been out of the league since 2018, and the Chiefs went, that's our guy. But they also brought in Marquez Valdez-Scantling, which I think was a good one. So a lot of moves
got him from
free agency. They got Frank Clark back on that roster as well. Matt, any other big acquisitions so far this offseason that you've kind of had your eye on and go, I like that move? To me, the New York Giants taking Tyrod Taylor. I think that one, either that or the NFC East Dallas Cowboys bringing in James Washington out of Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I like that too, and I wish we would have hung on to James Washington. I think we could have made him into a top receiver now that Juju's gone, but I think he had it. He had enough with Pittsburgh, and he was just going to walk, no matter what happened. So I do like that, that kind of, honestly, in maybe a year or two, he's going to be like he's going to be a perfect fill-in for, can't think of his name right now, man. They just traded him to your team too. But
Amari Cooper?
Amari Cooper, yeah, Amari Cooper. I think he'll be a great fill-in for him. He's kind of like I don't know how to best put it. Like, I don't know. He's scrappy. He's a quick receiver. He can catch the ball. He can go one-on-one. He can jump and catch that ball. We've seen it time and time again, even with Mason Rudolph throwing it to him, back in Oklahoma State. So I like the potential. I like to see him have a great career still. But other than that, not really. I don't think I'm thinking of any off the top of my head. But I do like the Tyrod Taylor one. He's been kind of the guy to bring in, and then you get your starter, which I don't like because I think he could have been a potential main guy for a team for a while. But he's getting older now, and I think that's just the inevitable that he's going to be the guy until you get the right guy. And I don't think Daniel Jones is. So.
All right, let's jump out of the NFL real quick. Take a quick pick at the NBA. Dallas Mavericks and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Huge playoff positioning on the line with about 2-3 weeks left in the season. It's coming down to it, and both these teams desperately need some wins. Mavericks on a 2-game win streak. I think I'm taking the Mavericks in this game. I like the Timberwolves, but Mavs been playing hot, and I think they're ready to take their playoff positioning and make it serious.
I'm going to go Timberwolves here. I can't stand the guy, but Patrick Beverley gets under people's skin. He got
under yours.
Oh yeah, he got under mine a lot. Yeah, but he was really getting against. Didn't they just play the Mavericks? Because I saw a video of him really getting under Luka's skin. Like he was really taunting at Luka Doncic. So I like that. I like to go to Timberwolves here, not because of just that, but they have a good all-around team too. I mean, Karl Anthony Towns is sweet, so got to go with them.
All right, love to see it. Well, into the NHL we go. Pens versus Rangers tonight, Matt. A big one here in the Met. What do you think of this game? I mean, obviously Rangers got the better record, but these two pretty much back looking for second.
I get about a minute here. Yeah. This is a big matchup here. Pittsburgh. These are the games they live for right here. And they just lost to Buffalo. I know that, but they played down to their opponents, and this is a main opponent. They battle hard with the tough opponents, but the bad ones are like, oh, go ahead and score. We won't play defense. But when it comes down to games like this, these are the games I love, especially the Rangers. Rangers are a heck of a team, too. They're both chasing Carolina. Carolina's been on like a 5-game skid, I believe. They're both chasing them, and the battle each other just to get to that next spot is there. I think Pittsburgh actually has sealed it a little bit. I don't think if they lose tonight, they'll be at a second, but I can check on that. But Pittsburgh, I'm going to take my Penguins to win this game. I like the defensive acquisitions we've got. Ricardo Raquel. This dude is sweet. He made this huge defensive play against Buffalo. I know we lost, but the puck was literally right there by the goal. The guy just whipped it out. Like, he's quick. He's on the spot type of guy. I know we traded away like Dominique Simone and Zach Aston Reese. Like those guys for a while, but it was time to do something new. Their defense has been stale. So
I'm going to take the Pens in this game as well. I mean, my differential fits their system, so I'm going to roll with it here. Matt, let's go into it. Highlight of the week for you. I'll let you start this one off. And I got a feeling I know where you're going.
Oh, yeah. Peacocks, man. I got to go with them.
I was thinking about it. I'm like, nah, I got to let Matt have that one. This one's been hard for me. I was trying to figure out one because, I mean, we've seen so much. I'm
trying to figure out me hit of the week. I think I got one. But
so much craziness is happening. My highlight of the week was going to be opening day for high school baseball here this weekend, but that's since all been canceled due to snow coming this weekend, which is wonderful. But I think I'm just going to go March Madness in general, man. I mean, this has been a great tournament. I mean, coming into this week, I mean, you saw one seeds go down yesterday. I mean, my highlight of the week has just been madness, baby. And it's been fun to watch so far. I've really been enjoying it. And I got to go. That's my highlight of the week is just March Madness in general. We're getting down to that point of the year where every game, and it seems every league is mattering. So we're at the peak of sports once again. You know, you get into football, you know, you get down December, January, February, where you're, got the NFL and college football kind of dominating the sports world, and they're all peaking. Now you get in here and you go, all right, now all the other sports are peaking. It's a fun time to be in. But Matt, I'll hand it off to you this week's Meat of the Week.
All right. I just saw this. I'm going to go Odell Beckham. Like, really? You want to go back to the Browns?
Yeah, I saw that.
What you just did to them? Just because they don't have Baker anymore, you want to go back? And if the Browns take them, they're meathead of the week next week. Again.
Okay, fair enough.
That's just stupid.
Well, that is going to do it here for the Casual Sports Podcast. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Make sure to tune in to YSN's Power Hour up next on YSNLive.com. I'm Alek Koberna. That's Matt Morrison. See you all next week. Enjoy the upsets.